Hello, 'tis I, Fat Cow. I fucked up my hair, but we live and learn. You'd think after almost 3 decades of doing your own hair you would have learnt, but apparently not. Anyway, I haven't seen Amberlynn Reid's Taking Accountability publicly video in its entirety. I've just seen clips on other reaction channels. So I recorded it last night while I was busy doing other stuff, and I'm going to react to it now. Me, a former victim of a narcissistic mistreating relationship of 15 years in total, reacting to who I believe with every fibre of my being is also a narcissistic mistreater of their romantic partners, their friends, their family, and even their viewers. So I guess we get on with it. By the way, before we start, any sudden background noises will be because of one of 4 of my cats, if not more than one. And if I edited out every crash and bang that they made, I'd never get the video completed. So please forgive me.
Hello. Sorry, my other one stopped working. I don't know what that was. That was really weird. Hi guys, how are you?
Just for information purposes, it's recorded at 1.5 times the speed because I don't think there's a person on the planet that's that patient that they can watch a video of Amberlynn's at its normal tempo. Additionally, the captions were on while recording in case things got a bit garbled. So there's that.
I hope that you guys are doing well. I went to press go live and it wouldn't let me go live. And I was like, what is happening? It has been windy lately, so I don't know if it's like the internet or what. So I had to cancel it and then start a new one. How are you guys doing? Already I have a new member, so thank you, IDK, for joining Stream Queens. I really, really appreciate that. Hi, Olivia. Hi, Drowsy. This is just time for people to come in. Oh my God, I forgot to put on rings. I hate when I do that. This is time for people to just come in and get acquainted, sit down, grab some popcorn, get some water. I'm drinking this big old Fiji.
Now I'd say from this, Amberlynn is obviously nervous or feeling some kind of way. When Amberlynn is feeling uncomfortable for whatever reason, she has some very obvious tells, but she also has some very, very obvious tells when she's lying, if you are of the school of thought that body language and micro-expressions hold some weight in psychology, or even criminal forensic psychology. There are people trained to read micro-expressions, and it's taken seriously by law enforcement. Amber gets more animated with her hands when she is lying. So that is something you need to take into account. When she's still, she's being honest or just being neutral, when her hands start moving a lot, she is usually being deceptive. She also has a tendency to shrug one shoulder when she's telling a lie, and her eyes dart about a lot. She also licks her lips, purses her lips, makes her lips tighter. She touches her face a lot, and she plays with her hair a lot. So if you want to take those into consideration as we go forward, just for fun, I mean, whether you believe in body language or not, if you've watched Amberlynn for long enough, she personally has some very obvious tells when she's being deceptive that don't necessarily apply for everybody, but for her carries some significance, let's say. She also has a lot of verbal tells. Things like, would I lie to you? Honestly, that kind of thing. But also, the bigger the lie, the more words she uses to describe the event that she's lying about. To the point that it is almost becomes the telling of a story. If you have watched the time that Gracie disappeared the first time and the Rain and Petals eavesdrop video, you will notice both videos. It's as if she's reading a story. Her mannerisms are very animated. Her voice changes pitch a lot. And she'll say things like, and would you believe she went booking it out of the door? And that kind of way of talking about things. I personally am of the belief that the story about Gracie escaping the first time was fictitious, given all I know about Amber Lynn when they are telling a lie, and that it was set up for Gracie's convenient disappearance and the lack of sympathy for Gracie's disappearance, the distraction of the red sofa, and the sudden appearance of Wasabi. Amber themselves said, I've always wanted a cat of my own that I got from the very beginning. And they were told no new pets until Gracie passes, and then, wow, Gracie's suddenly gone. Rewatch the Gracie video, the Gracie Escaped Part 1 video, not the Gracie Has Gone video, and then watch the Rain and Petals eavesdrop and see how Amber speaks and recounts the tale, and how different it is from how Amber normally speaks. Both times she was telling a story she had conducted herself, probably wrote down and practiced. I stake my entire reputation on this statement. She set up a story for Gracie's disappearance, and we all know the Rain and Petals was fictitious.
So I do have some notes because I have been told, come with notes. So I do have like a little bit of notes. Is this going to have tea?
I find it interesting that Amber has notes. If I was recounting the story, the factual story of something that happened to me, I don't believe I'd need notes. Maybe if I wanted exact dates, but that would be difficult for me because I don't remember dates of anything except the birthdays of people I went to school with for some reason. If I wanted to remember amounts, and I had evidence of amounts, then yeah, maybe notes. But sequence of events, things that were said, things that legitimately happened, I don't think notes is something that somebody who is telling the truth, what actually happened, would need. But maybe that's just me.
Lauren, hello. Thank you for the super chat. I mean, the standard of what people consider tea, I guess, yes, it's gonna have tea.
I would be mortified if anybody considered me defending myself against the accusations of somebody else claiming I abused them as tea. Tea? Gossip? Are you fucking serious, Amber? Look at that face. That face is somebody who is both disgusted with what they're about to do. They're finding the whole thing a bit distasteful, but are also a bit smug because they think they're going to prove everybody absolutely wrong.
I am here to be accountable. Like I said in my, I am nervous. I'm very nervous.
Yeah, she could be nervous. She could also be stalling for time. But she does seem gleeful, don't you think?
And I'm actually really anxious, but that's okay. Like I said in my community post, I want to be accountable. So you guys are gonna find out tea of things that is real and is true. And yeah.
You're going to find out tea that is real, that is true. Suddenly, the arms are flapping about. As I said, Amber does this when they're lying. Watch the hands. It is not going to be true. She has absolutely no intention of telling the truth.
I also want to talk about things that aren't real and aren't true because I feel like that is just as important. A, B, C, D, F, G can be true and I could take accountability, while LMNOP also I want to clear up. I just think that's fair. I do have some like screenshots.
Now, there are no screenshots that are presented, as far as I'm aware, from what I've seen on other channels, that definitively prove anything. But I want you to take into consideration something for a moment before we go forward. Amber has every phone she's ever had fully charged because it switches on immediately, and knows exactly where to find everything. Speaking for myself, I have my current phone and the last phone I had prior to that. One of my kids has an old phone of mine, but they use that as a backup phone, and I reformatted it and removed everything before I gave it to them. And that's it. And as for finding things on my phone, I tend to delete shit because my phone, its memory gets full pretty quickly. I'm not one to keep things hanging around, screenshots, messages, and that kind of thing. My WhatsApp probably has the messages to the beginning of the year, maybe. I don't know how to retrieve them, but hey. So I find it actually, personally, a bit sinister that not only does Amber have every phone she's ever owned and they are fully charged, which seems to suggest she goes through them, but she knows exactly where to find her evidence.
And some things like that. So I'm just going to try my hardest. Like, This isn't a place for me to like bash Beck or talk about their personal things. Like that's not what I'm doing. Um, so I just want to like also make that very clear.
But I think you'll find she will. She has to.
How are you taking accountability other than just saying it? Thank you for the super chat, because I'm going to be literally giving examples.
Giving examples is not taking accountability. Giving examples is making excuses and changing the narrative. Taking accountability doesn't need examples. It needs an explanation and an apology. I believe that's what taking accountability is. Apology, explanation, maybe expressing the desire and hope that you're not going to do it again, or being determined not to do it again. Giving examples. Yeah, that's like saying I'm sorry but, isn't it? Yeah. Before we go any further, and bearing in mind I haven't seen this in its entirety, I want to give you some examples of things a narcissist will say when they are trying to take accountability, or what I will rename as defending themselves. Things that have actually been said to me by my narcissistic ex-husband. Things of the nature of, I would not have done this if you hadn't. You look what you've made me do. Any normal person wouldn't have. And then you would add, been so kind to you. And then any normal person would have, and then add things like slapped you for that, or left you for that. Why did you do that? Look what you've made me do. I think I've said that already, but it is something that's said a lot. Yeah, I did that, but, and then things like I wouldn't have done it if you hadn't, or you made me, or things of that nature. And yes, I did that, but you don't know what they did to make me do that. Things of that nature.
And yeah, I really hope that like this helps, because I genuinely have been feeling awful.
And by awful, Amber means I've genuinely been feeling very, very sorry for myself.
Like I've been wanting to say so much and I haven't been able to. And I'm gonna say why. Okay, so some stuff I obviously blocked out. September 7th, 2022, I get a text from Beck saying, "Last fucking warning. Stop talking about me. All you do is talk shit about me, and I just want to forget you and all of the bullshit. I will stop being silent if you don't, and I'm not the only one who has a lot to say about you. Final fucking warning. Take my name out of your mouth, and I can get the law involved."
Firstly, look how pissed she is. Secondly, Beck asked you to stop talking about them. They got to the point they started threatening you to stop talking about them, and you didn't. And now you're twisting the narrative to say, I didn't say things because I was threatened not to say things, when the fact is you never stopped saying things.
Okay, that's fair. Here's the screenshot. And obviously I crossed out everything else because obviously like that's personal. So that's fair. Okay. So I stopped talking about them. And that text was kind of after like I said the proposal story. And in the proposal story, I didn't even say Beck's name, you know. And obviously everyone knew what it was about, so that's my bad. And I shouldn't have done that. But at the time, like I felt like, okay, if they're allowed to make videos and say what they want, like I should be allowed to as well. So Beck obviously sent that. So I was like, okay, all right. So I did stop talking about them. And I think what was hard at the time for me was Beck started making videos about me while telling me, "Don't talk about me. Keep my fucking name out your mouth, or I'm gonna get the law involved."
I don't remember it being like that. I mean, prove me wrong if that's the case, but I don't remember it being like that at all.
I know there's internet suits. Is that what they call them? Internet suits out there? Okay, so with my notes, I do want to delete everything that I'm like already talking about just so I don't get confused. So if you see me like doing that, I'm sorry, it's just like a break. So if there's internet suits out there, um, there is a phase of time, like easily for like 2 years, I would not talk about Beck. I did not say a word. I was also with Feline, and Feline was very good at urging me to not speak about Beck, and so I listened. Um, it was just hard because like Beck was able to say whatever they wanted when they wanted, how they wanted, and that was like hard for me. So that is why when I say like I feel like I'm being silenced, that is what I mean because I took that text message and I was like, all right. And I think now things have just got like I really wasn't gonna say anything, obviously, but things have gotten so like out of hand with like things that like, okay, how am I supposed to take accountability if I don't say what for? So I want to say what for. And I also think it's important that like I share my side of things that are not true. Um
Pay attention to the sniffing. A bit too much detail about when you're upset and your nose starts to run. When you sniff, you can, sorry for this, hear the fluid. Let's say there's no fluid. Also, what my side? What my side? You could say Beck did these things, but you'll be telling your truth. But when it comes to causing mistreatment on somebody, you don't have a side because there is no justifiable reason to mistreat somebody. They can't make you mistreat them. It's a flaw in your character. If you hit somebody, there's no defense. You don't have a side as to why you hit somebody. If that somebody hadn't hit you first. And even then, it's questionable, in my opinion. I don't think there is any justification for physical violence, even if you were hit first. But that's just me.
Would you ever consider attending a behavior change program for abusers? No hate. I generally want to see you succeed. Yeah, I would do anything. Like, are you joking? Thank you for the super chat.
She answers this in a way that she knows she should, but then suddenly realises that that's tantamount to admitting that she's an abuser and therefore changes the subject.
So with like, I want to answer questions and then I want to like also do some of my notes, et cetera, et cetera. So we can just like go back and forth with that. So someone said this is not accountability. We haven't gotten there. We have not gotten there. We have just started.
Oh yeah, this is all terribly, terribly funny and amusing, isn't it? Yes. What a jolly time we are having talking about alleged abuse of another person. Ha 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 ha.
We haven't even been on here for 10 minutes yet. I'm extremely nervous. I am absolutely detached from myself. So if I laugh, giggle, whatever it may be, it's because I'm extremely detached from this whole situation.
Yeah, that's somebody who just realised they fucked up. Let's talk about detachment and a disassociation for a second now, shall we? I'm going to read this because I don't want my own words and description to muddy the waters about what this is exactly. Disassociation is a psychological process where a person feels disconnected from their thoughts, memories, surroundings, actions, or even their identity. It's like watching your life unfold as if you were an observer, not the person living it. As a casual observer, I'd say that Amber is very present at the moment. But again, that's just my opinion. What does disassociation feel like? Feeling detached from reality. One of the most profound aspects of disassociation is the feeling of detachment from reality. It is often described as feeling like a dream or watching your life as an observer rather than an active participant. Active participant. I'd say Amber's actively participating in this life, but again, out-of-body experiences. Another common experience is having out-of-body experiences. This sensation involves feeling as though one is observing oneself from outside their physical body. It's as if they are a spectator of their actions and experiences, which can be very disorientating. Emotional numbness. It's also frequently reported. This involves a sense of being emotionally disconnected, where feelings and emotions seem dull or absent. It's a protective mechanism where the mind shields itself from emotional pain by numbing the feelings. You see, this one's tricky because narcissists don't have feelings in the same way as others have feelings. There is a lack of empathy, for a start. Amber is very quick to cry, but it's also performative 95% of the time. If you've watched enough of Amber stuff, there's only a few occasions where I would genuinely say she was legitimately upset. And if you compare those incidences to other incidences of crying, you would see the difference. I've been diagnosed with uterine cancer being one. The breakup with Feline being another one. I've been diagnosed with COVID being another one. These are genuine, legitimate periods of being severely upset. And oddly enough, every one of them was a blow to her ego or her soul. They were about her. She did not legitimately cry when Rarity went missing, for example. She's very good at performative crying, with the exception of the fact there is no actual tears and no production of snot, for want of a better word. Does Amber disassociate? In my opinion, it's awfully fucking convenient, isn't it?
I feel like I'm watching this happen to myself.
And that is a very stereotypical opinion of what disassociation feels like. It's like she heard somebody say it, or she read it somewhere and thought, ooh, that sounds like a good excuse for stuff, doesn't it? Without fully understanding what dissociative disorders actually are. Your use of mental conditions as an excuse for your behaviour is absolute bullshit. If you have these conditions if they would explain your behaviour, but as a Homo sapien with a certain level of intelligence, they cannot excuse your behaviour. In a court of law, you have to be declared to be unable to understand the consequence of your actions due to mental deficiencies, let's say. And you, my dear, do not fit that. You know right from wrong. You are able to understand your actions. So whether you have every mental disability, disorder, illness and mental healths in the book, it still does not excuse your behaviour.
A main question I have is it difficult handling the situation when you've said you wanted to handle it privately and they keep making it public slash responding? Yes, that's obviously a very different and hard type of situation to be doing, because like I really want to, like, I would love to have like a conversation with Beck offline. Like Beck can have their partner there, friends, family, a whole slew of people, and I can be by myself. Like whatever would make them feel comfortable.
Oh, she's such a martyr. How positively noble of you. It doesn't matter whether this is done publicly or privately. You will twist the narrative, and Beck will never get their apology. I know for a fact the narrative my ex-husband tells everybody about our relationship and its demise and how it ended, because he was very, very public about it in the aftermath of me leaving him on social media. I am, in his words, an evil, manipulative, deceiving, scheming bitch. And there is nothing I can say, not a single word, not a single piece of evidence that would change his mind at all. At all.
Whatever can make them feel comfortable, safe, whatever it may be. Because like doing this online like is a lot, because the thing, like I get like in my videos, because I look back, I see in some of my videos I was like pretty harsh to Beck, and for that I'm sorry, especially like doing it publicly. Like it's pretty awful, really.
Now, Amber's going to cry. But crying as in the actual release of tears, the production of fluid, the actual physical crying, you know, the body's actual response to distress or sadness, or, for want of a better word, is it more performative?
Um, but like the things that happen like not online, like I would love to be able to like have that conversation, like, but it's not gonna happen. So there's not much I can really do about that. Someone said, please stop crying. I am extremely emotional. It's hard to regulate my emotions. So I'm going to be doing the best I can with actually not crying. I'm actually working really hard on that, even on my everyday life, to like not cry at every fucking thing in the world.
Ah, fat cow. But her eyes started watering. Yeah. And I can do that too. Just give me a minute. takes me a lot longer than Amber, but it's easily done. I mean, actors do it all the fucking time. Anyway, not sure if I proved my point, but I tried. Also, she got over it very bloody quickly. You may have noticed.
So, and I know a lot of people are like, you are not a victim. I'm not saying I'm a victim. I'm saying that there's two people in this story, and one of them isn't being honest about the situation at hand. And it's like,
I'm not saying I'm a victim, but I kind of am.
when I was going through my messages to try to find proof for certain questions, because I do have some screenshots that I want to show you guys, I found a text message of a situation that like I didn't even remember happening. And it just made me realize that like I'm not perfect. Beck wasn't perfect. Like I was super controlling of their time, of like their energy. I always wanted them near me, like always. Like it was crazy, and it was. I'm able to admit that, and I'm sorry for that, and that's wrong. Beck is their own individual, their own person, and they can do whatever the fuck they want. And for some reason at the time, it felt like I needed them always.
I was super controlling of them, but I needed them. You're implying that for whatever reason, your mental health, your physical incapabilities that you brought on yourself because of your weight, you needed them. Okay, you needed help. There are better ways of asking for help. You don't demand help. You're not owed help. Help should be given freely unless help is something you're paying for, and then it's an exchange of money for services.
And I'm able to realize that I was not perfect. But and it's like I hate like having to do like two things at once, because it makes me feel like my apology or my accountability isn't real. But it is. Like what I'm about to say does not take away from that, and I need people to hear it.
The hands are going to start going. The I'm not telling the truth tell of Amber's. The dramatics are dramaticking. This feels somewhat duplicitous, let's say.
I need people to hear that. And so anyways, I was going through and I was looking for proof of something, which I'll show you. And it's like there was this text message I saw where I like sent a big long message to Beck saying like how I felt. It's actually on my other phone. If you guys want to see, I can get up and go get it. But some of it is actually personal. And in it, I was saying how like I like quoted some things that Beck said to me. And one of the things was I wrote down in my notes, at least my family didn't do drugs. Like Beck would say things like that to me. And I forgot that they even said that to me until I was looking at a text message from like, I think it was like 2020. And I was like, holy fuck.
I would say that is an extremely shitty comment to make. But if you listen to the language that was made, Beck said at least which suggests he is, so they are, gosh, I'm so sorry, replying to things that were said about their family. This doesn't excuse what was said, but Amber is cherry picking things to suit her narrative. At least suggests that things were said to Beck about their family by Amber. It's not an excuse for what Beck said. What Beck said was shitty. But unless we know what was said to them first, we do not understand the context. Amber is very selective about her evidence.
Dana was like, you are not yourself. Like, I could tell you're not happy. Like, you don't deserve to be treated like this. Like, Dana, like, also saw, like, a situation where two people were not good to each other. And Dana saw, like, a big difference in me. Like, it's just hard because it's like, a part of me fucking wishes that it was just me. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, a part of me wishes it was just me who was not a good girlfriend, not a good this, not a good that, because then it would just be so much easier for me to come on here and be like, yep, everything that Becca's saying is 100% true, and this is, like, exactly how it is. But it's not. It's not reality.
I cannot defend myself against the allegations made. I cannot justify any of it. And so instead, I'm going to strongly suggest, implant in your little brain the idea that Beck was equally as shitty to me. I can't defend myself, so I will sully the reputation and character of the other person to try and mitigate this situation.
It's not, and it just, like, makes it hard. Anyways, it, like, literally doesn't even matter because I just need really more than anything to just get all of this, like, off my chest. And it's not, like, fully about, like, people believing me or whatever it may be. It's like I just need to get all of these feelings and thoughts off of my chest.
It's not about even having people believe me. I just need to get this off my chest. It's such a burden. It is a stone around my neck. I need the relief. I need to move forward because I'm a victim too. That's what you're saying. That's what you're implying. That's what you want us to think, isn't it, Amberlynn Reid? Before we go any further, I think it's very, very important for me to say I am very, very, very biased in this situation. I have experienced abuse at the hands of a narcissist, and therefore you could argue my opinions and comments towards Amber are somewhat skewed. That could very well be the case, but what I'm doing here is comparing apples to apples. They might be from a different tree. They might be a different variety of apple. But at the end of the day, they are both fucking apples.
So before I start being like, well, Beck said this, but here's proof that that's not true, I would like to answer some of your guys' questions that I can be accountable for, because I don't want this to be a situation where it's like, oh, Amberlynn is just trying to prove Beck wrong or this and that. Like, no, I want to literally be accountable because that is just as important to me.
What does it mean to take accountability? I'm going to read this from actual psychologists and life coaches. The definition, the very definition of what taking accountability is. When you're personally accountable, you take ownership of what happens as a result of your choices and actions. You don't blame others or make excuses, and you do what you can to make amends when things go wrong. To become more accountable, make sure that you are clear about your role and your responsibilities.
Um, Saying I'm accountable doesn't make you accountable, correct? That's why like I am trying to list off ways that I'm accountable. So what you talk about Destiny's brother on drugs, yes, that was a very, very low point of me, and I should have never done that, and I'm sorry for that. That was a very bad look, and it was horrific because, like, you guys know that I have, like, addicts in my family, and I should have never, ever, ever done that.
Okay, but why did you do it? And have you actually said, sorry? You said it was a bad thing and you shouldn't have done it, but have you actually apologised?
Who diagnosed you with BPD and when? So it was actually when I was seeing the psychologist. It was around the era of when I was like getting my weight loss surgery. I was with Feline at the time. So it was 2023. It was, I would say maybe March of 2023, like around that area. And that was when they were like, okay, so you meet the criteria because there's like 9 criterions, whatever, whatever. And they were like, but you need to see someone who like specifically can help you with this because my psychologist at the time did not. And I never saw anyone until now. So
I don't remember that being mentioned at the time. The only thing I remember is Amber saying she needed additional therapy to deal with her binge eating disorder. Correct me if I'm wrong.
why were you completely unable to recognize how Beck felt and their emotions for the entirety of your 4-year relationship? There, well, you have to be more specific because sometimes I did know exactly how they felt because they told me, and I'm realizing that there was a lot of times that they lied. I think a really good example of that would be like Choosy, or like when they would give me like the anxiety massage. Like it's just like partner, you know, emotional regulation, like making your partner feel good and safe and loved, and things that I would also do for them. Like they really liked when I would do this, so that was like my thing that I did for them, and it's like I'm realizing that it wasn't that at all. It was I almost feel like I was a burden to them in moments that I thought we were actually genuinely bonding. Like, that's the part that's, like, hard for me to, like, wrap my head around, I think.
If you're in an abusive relationship with a narcissist, you will do what's expected of you in order to prevent being shouted at, argued with, and the other things that come with it. Your partner, your narcissistic partner, won't realise that you're doing something because you feel like you have to and not because you want to. And that's the point. You want them to think you want to do this, that you legitimately want to spend time with them doing this thing that they like, and you pretend you're having an okay time with it, because if you were honest about your feelings about the activity and the fact you don't want to do it, you are going to get shouted at. My example would be going to the in-laws, for example, every effing weekend, and having sex with my husband too. I didn't want to do either of them, but I was not brave enough to tell them that I didn't because I was scared of them. Does that make any sense?
Do you owe Beck $6,000? No. So I guess we can talk about the inheritance. I did talk about this in my members only, but obviously not everyone saw that. So in my members only, I talked about how Beck is saying that I took the inheritance. Me and Beck had a joint account. Okay, so this is where a screenshot comes in. So I'm glad we're talking about this. Let me get to it. I have done some picture taken. Wow. Okay, so me and Beck had a joint account, and it was originally her bank account. Their bank account. I'm sorry, I'm getting really, really flustered. My apologies. So it was originally their bank account, and when we got together, I ended up going on their bank account together. So we were joint bank accounts. So any money that either of us both received went into one full-fledged one area. In a recent, I don't know if it was video, live stream, I forget what it was. Beck said how they didn't even have the means to look at the bank, to see how much money was in there, that they had to use my debit card, that I had my own private thing. Those are not true statements. I have a screenshot. I was not able to get into the bank ever. I have so many screenshots of wondering, how much did I get paid? I would text Becky and literally ask that. I'd be like, how much did I get paid, et cetera, et cetera. And Beck would literally send me screenshots of our bank. So I have everything crossed off that's like personal information, but this is just proof that that was a lie from Beck, an absolute lie. I said, how much money is in the bank? And here's a screenshot that says, hi, Rebecca, like, et cetera, showing how much money we had in the bank, because I was not able to get into it. I was never able to see how much went in there, how much I got paid, unless I looked on my AdSense, which is part of YouTube, and that's how you get paid. I was never able to see any of that. And we had our own separate debit cards that were in the joint account together. Any money that Beck received would go into the same spot that my money went to, because again, it was joint. I didn't have private anything. Again, this is probably the one of the biggest lies. It has left my jaw on the floor. All right, I don't want to accidentally show any of my other pictures. That'd be hectic. So here we have it where I say how much money is in the bank. So here it says, hi, Rebecca, because this is their account, literally their account right here, which we shared, but I could not get into it.
That proves nothing. I have access to all of my mother's accounts, because my mum's not very good at online stuff. And when my mum needs to know how much is in their account, I send them screenshots, much in the same vein as that. If the account was held in Beck's name initially, because it was their account, and they used an app on their phone to access their account, your bank doesn't allow you to have the app on multiple accounts. So Amber couldn't check the app because the app was on Beck's phone under Beck's name, because the account was originally Beck's. Amber could have accessed the account if they went via the bank's website, because you can do that, but you cannot have the app on two different devices. This doesn't prove a single thing apart from the app for that account was on Beck's phone, not on Amber's, because it was Beck's account originally.
So I have so many screenshots of Beck sending me screenshots of the bank because I couldn't see it. So it's like, let me cross this off on my things that I've talked about, because in my notes I don't want to get confused. It's things like that like has left me my jaw on the floor. My like literally, hold on, let me just take a break. Where did I have this even on here? I can't find it. Oh wait, okay, I talked about this. So I'm gonna cross this off.
Again, for the sake of security, banks do not allow you to have the banking app on more than one device, because the bank account was originally Beck's. They had the app. Had Amber wanted access to the bank account, she could have gone on the bank's website and accessed the account via that. The app for the bank cannot exist on more than one device at a time.
Yeah. Okay. And I also put in my notes with that is like, my mom stayed with us for like 2 months when I had cancer, and my mom saw our dynamic. And Beck, because I've talked to my mom about this, obviously, because my mom's like just as shocked as I am. My mom saw Beck had their own debit card, literally their own debit card. Like, I don't understand like this crazy weird lie. Like, we can say that like I was abusive and controlling, because I was very controlling of their time, and I'm very, very so sorry for that. But never once have I ever been financially abusive. We have been equally so bad with money. That's why I have nothing to literally show for anything, because we would spend so much money, the both of us, constant. Like, they were allowed to buy what they want when they wanted. Like, I literally bought them a car. Like, I bought them a car. I'm that type of person where you guys have even seen it. You guys have seen it. You guys have called me out on my shit. I buy love. And I have gotten so much better with that, especially because like the last like 6 years of my life, 7 years of my life, 8 years actually. What am I saying? Like the last like 8 years of my life, like I have bought people with money. I have bought love. I have bought friendships. I have bought laughter. I have bought time with people because of money. And that's how it's always been. I have never been a greedy person when it comes to money. It's almost like I got a kick out of giving people money and like going on shopping sprees and like doing all these sorts of things. So it's like, what? I don't know. Speechless. Um, okay.
Financial abuse doesn't just mean you don't give anything. That's not what financial abuse is. Financial abuse is you prevent them from having the means to do what they want, and you prevented them from earning their own money, having independence, and being able to finance themselves leaving you. My husband paid for everything in terms of rent, bills, and groceries, but he paid exactly the amount to cover those things and nothing else. This, in his opinion, would not be financial abuse because he paid for everything. But I had no financial freedom to do anything for myself independently. I was controlled. I couldn't go places. I couldn't do things. I couldn't spend time with people. That is the financial abuse you're being accused of. You kept Beck as a prisoner financially because you removed their independence. There's still an hour and a half of footage to go through, and bear in mind it's recorded at 1.5 times the speed. So I'm going to stop for now because this video is really long, and if I did it in one go it could quite easily be a 4-hour video, and I'm not going to do this to you guys, and I'm not going to do it to myself either. So ta-ta for now, and I will see you guys later.